For some time now, Chinese brands have been shaking up the entire watch industry, simply because the watches they are releasing are of high quality for the price we are paying. A straightforward example would be the Seagull chronograph, which is a mechanical chronograph for less than $300. Now recently, this watch I have here has made quite a splash on social media, mainly because the quality and everything it offers is extremely high, while the price at which it's sold is utterly ridiculous. I was able to buy this watch on AliExpress for under $170. If you saw it from a distance, you would definitely think it was a Swiss watch with the best craftsmanship. But let's take it step by step. The most impressive aspect of this watch is the way it tells time. It has a mechanism called jumping hours, which means that while the minute hand makes a full turn around the dial, the little window at the top tells us the hours. This number jumps every time the minute hand completes a rotation. Generally, this way of telling time is reserved for much more expensive watches. And when I say much more, I mean that a watch with this complication would typically cost maybe 200 times more. So having a watch with this complication at the price they offer is nothing short of ridiculous. In fact, as a side note, these jumping hour watches tend to be very delicate and it can become a real headache if you accidentally turn the crown the wrong way, as it will undoubtedly damage the mechanism. But the Chinese are so good at what they do that this mechanism can move both forwards and backwards. If you overshoot, you can simply turn the hands back and the hour will revert as if nothing happened. Now let's talk about the watch aesthetics, which is exactly what I love about an elegant watch. If you focus on the dial, we have an enormous amount of textures. There are rays in the center, a window for the hour that looks like a little balcony where the hour number is peeking out. And then we have the seconds area with a rail followed by a circular finishing. On the outside, there is another raised ring with numbers. The amount of texture on this dial is incredible. And if you use a macro lens, you'll see that everything is very well printed and clearly defined, except for a tiny pubic hair on the number 1 of the 15, which can only be seen under a microscope. Adding to this, the hands are blue, but not blue in the way Orient or Seagull paint them. No, these hands are blued through heat treatment, which further contributes to the watch's high quality feel. And then we flip the watch over and see that Citizen could definitely learn a thing or two from these Chinese brands when it comes to covering their movements. Look, it's okay that your movement is ugly, so just cover it up, than rather to ruin the watch's overall appearance, like with the Citizen Suyosa or the Senshin, which are beautiful watches but have terrible movements. I mean, terrible to look at. Now, there are various options of this watch in terms of dial color and strap, but I chose to buy the most popular one, which is the salmon dial with a gray strap. Now, if I had to criticize the watch, but let's be honest, for the price you're paying, there really isn't much to criticize. But if I had to point out two things, the first would be the strap. Clearly, you could swap it out for a higher quality one and problem solved. But the second issue is that this watch has a serious design flaw. When you have a complicated watch like this, what you want to enjoy is that complication. But the problem is that the minute hand blocks the whole show. This is where you realize the genius behind Gerald Genta's jumping hour watches, which included a retrograde minute hand to avoid blocking the hour change display. Because no matter how much you want to enjoy it, the minute hand is going to obscure everything. Now, these are minor details, as this watch is unbeatable when it comes to quality for the price. I truly believe that Chinese brands should focus more on creating these types of designs. If there's something we criticize them for, it's that they have only focused on making copies of popular watches, which, of course, that is what sells, and it makes sense. But this watch is proof that the Chinese have the capability to create their own designs, with quality, interesting complications at an extremely accessible price. In fact, if they dedicated themselves to making watches like this, they would wipe out all of their competition. There is simply no way that any watch at any other price point could compete with this one. But what do you think?